for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
So I am trying to, one moment, I'm trying to set up the recording. I think I did it. Hold on.
And then what was everybody's name again? Lauren and then Isabel?
Yeah.
Yes.
Bella's just a name. I don't really.
Okay.
Perfect.
Oh, it is recording. Okay, we're good. Drink water.
And then who was gonna go first?
I am. Might
Okay.
talk like I might talk like Couragely the Cowardly Dog, but it's c'est la vie. Okay, so I'm the timekeeper. I am gonna be timing all of us. Hopefully this isn't like an art critique where we're supposed to be like really critiquing our speeches. I don't think we're gonna be doing that.
No, and this is just like, so is this like the final, what we're actually going to submit to her then, or are we just going to do a practice run, see how it sounds, and then do it again later? What did we kind of decide?
Let's play it as a practice run, and if it just so happens to be beautiful, then we'll just submit it to her. And then but
Works.
otherwise we can just yeah.
Okay,
We'll do that.
sounds good.
Yeah, I don't know if we're all supposed to. I think I'm just gonna like when I get the recording done, I'm gonna send it to all of you.
Okay.
I
Yep.
don't know.
We're supposed to post it to the discussion.
Yeah. Oh, the
So
discussion board. Ooh. Okay. All right.
yeah.
Double checking. All right. So I'm gonna start.
So yeah, go for it.
Okay. So my speech is about how competitive the graphic design field is. Okay, so what is graphic design, you might ask? Well, graphic design is a form of visual communication used to convey a message or information to a specific audience. As a graphic design major myself, I have learned in the past year that to be a graphic design major, you need a lot of certain skills like basic understanding of technology, the basic design principles, time management, creativity, typography, not to mention a lot of other basic soft skills like strategy, communication, problem solving. Graphic design as a concept is often overlooked. It's everywhere while predominantly in logos and brand design. Without graphic design, we wouldn't have a lot of the iconic logos we have today, like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's. Everyone is influenced by design, whether you think about it or not. Colors, shapes, and typography can influence your emotions more than you think. Like with those businesses I mentioned, it's common for those type of businesses to use yellow or red because the colors yellow and red are associated with like energy, hunger, anger, stuff like that. So there is an importance into learning how to design certain things for a certain audience. If you can't draw any of your desired audience into your design, then you will most likely be turned away from clients and other business clientele. This brings us into why the graphic design field is so competitive. It's so competitive because most businesses are very specific about what they want, and depending on the kind of business they are, you have to design according to that business's audience. Like if you were hired to create a logo for a bank, you wouldn't incorporate any like flashy colors, inappropriate language. You would just like stick to the client's instructions, which is vital just in any sort of business other than banks. The main goal of graphic designers is to create solutions for brands and corporations to convey what their business is. The most useful form of graphic design is communication design, which can also help provide information to the public and promote its competition. Learning graphic design can be challenging for a lot of people. A big part of learning about it is just to keep on practicing. Because since graphic design has such like a loose definition with all its forms and required skills, it can be really difficult to get comfortable with it. And if you're not completely comfortable in graphic design and your designs, it is most likely that you will get rejected by a lot of those clients and businesses, and they will choose other designers more confident than you. If you want to be confident in your skills enough to be trusted, considered as a trusted employee to your clients, it's important to be skilled in most, if not all, the different forms of graphic design. The most important forms of graphic design are web design, packaging design, advertising design, and typography. Web design is a field of graphic design that is heavy in technology, the basic principles to like compose digital media like websites. It's mainly just like you need to have a general understanding of like HTML, CMS, JavaScript. Packaging design is the practice of designing packages for products that are everywhere that the eye can see. They're on food, tools, devices, you name it. According to Wojciechko Maggi, a Polish philosopher and co-founder of PackHelp, packaging design can make an important connection to the buyer if done correctly in its brand identity. It's all about promoting what is unique to the product and what it can do. Advertising design is a little similar, but like the key difference is that advertising design is the practice of like utilizing different marketing strategies to form a brand identity that will attract the buyers that they want. This form of design falls under logo design, brand design, packaging design, and web design. Typography is another variable of graphic design that can be everywhere. From the point of view of Ellen Lupton, who has been a professional graphic design artist for the past 30 years, typography is the art of how letters are arranged and sized in a way that is clear and unique to the brand design. Typefaces are an underlying design that in fonts and typefaces are used very often in graphic design. And if used properly, then typography can be the most unique thing about your design. Well, to summarize, hopefully now you understand a thorough explanation on what the basics of graphic design are and the common difficulties of what the graphic design field can give. By informing you of the most important concepts of graphic design, I hope you have a better grasp on what it is, whether you get into the field or not. Graphic design is not as simple as it may seem, and I hope after my explanation that truth is clear. Next time you see a logo or design in public, consider the thought process behind it. It is smarter than you may think.
That was really good.
And thank you.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, the
roughly how
only
long are these supposed? These are supposed to be like 4 or 5 minutes, correct?
5 to 6, but I have a timer for 6.
Okay, perfect.
Now I was 4 seconds short, but I don't think that matters that much.
No, I don't think it should.
Mhm.
Who's
We ready
next?
for mine?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So I did mine on the field of nursing and why it's healthcare is like super important, in the role that nurses play in society as we live today. So many people wonder why the role of nursing is so important and why it's such a demanding field. As a nursing major, there are many classes and different aspects of nursing that you could go into to acquire something like a degree as in an LPN or a BSN, which is your bachelor's degree, or an LPN, which is basically like a licensed practicing nurse. You can't do quite as many things as a BSN, but both have great impacts on patients. I'm going to kind of explain some of the classes that you might need to take, ranging from more general classes up to more specific classes, if you will. With the nursing degree, there are also many jobs ranging from clinical settings, hospital settings, long-term care facilities. And then finally, I'm going to explain the importance of the demand of nurses and how their job affects the world that we live in today. The importance of the nursing role and kind of what it entails. I'm going to first kind of start off by giving a couple examples on how nurses play a huge role in society today. Nurses, first off, start by helping manage patients and, in a sense, keep them alive. A lot of the patients that we encounter, whether in a long-term care facility or in a hospital setting, aren't always doing the best. You know, they're in the hospital for a reason. They might require surgeries, medication treatments, major or minor infections, and other illnesses that they might have. So a nurse's role is to help care for those patients and give them the best possible care they can. Nurses also help keep the entire healthcare system turning. Many patients are very vulnerable when they're in a long-term care facility or a hospital setting, which is why nurses play a crucial role in changing people's lives and helping them live the most comfortable and most dignifiable life they can, given the certain circumstances. Nurses are a primary touch point to patients' experiences when they are in the healthcare environment. What many people don't realize is that nurses face the hands-on, deep work that many people give doctors credits for. A lot of people give doctors credits for the work they do or the things that they might help with, like whether it's surgeries or anything like that. But a lot of people don't give credit to the nurses who are at bedside 24/7, always giving that constant care. Some of the classes that you'd need to take. I used MSUM's BSN program as an example. So according to MSUM's BSN handbook, some of the classes that you would need are things as basic as anatomy, some sort of nutrition classes, the foundations of nursing. Any kind of speech classes are really good to take to learn how to communicate well with others. As you get deeper into the program and more in depth, they get more specific, ranging from acute care, nursing leaderships, complex care, and pharmacology, dealing with medication administrations and things like that. Kind of moving past that, jobs that can be found throughout the healthcare field and in any form of nursing are jobs with hospital settings. You could, if you want to do some sort of cosmetology, you could do that route as well, which is also known as like soft care, soft nursing. All make a huge difference, whether, like I said, you're working with patients who are in intense care like I do in the ICU, or if you work in a dermatology office, I guess. According to Herzing University, there are many jobs that you can seek with a nursing degree. If working bedside at the hospital is not exactly what you're looking for, there are many jobs outside of that, including a nurse educator, school nurse, and working in small clinics. The most common is working in a hospital. There are many floors that you could specialize in as well if a certain floor doesn't interest you as much. Some examples would be in the ICU, there's something called IMC, which is an intermediate care, which is one step below the ICU. You could work in something like a med-surg floor, which is dealing with patients right after surgery, or in something as intense as the ER as well. Nurses are extremely important and they matter more than what many people do realize. Nurses care for patients in some of the most darkest and vulnerable times in their life. They put their needs, the patient's needs, above their own. Everything revolves around the patient. That's why it is an extremely rewarding job. They can be leaders, innovators, educators, change makers, problem solvers, patient advocates, policymakers, and many more, including to a site called Johnson & Johnson Services. Nurses provide care that people don't normally think of when we go to a hospital stay or a long-term care facility. They go above and beyond and care for patients like their own. To summarize, I hope I have given you the best knowledge in what many roles you can take with nursing and what you would need to receive degree-wise to become a nurse and be successful. I also hope that by me introducing some of the different fields that you could go into with nursing, that can give a broader spectrum of, it doesn't just have to deal with a hospital setting. It could be something like a school nurse where you deal with more simple things, or if you like that quote unquote adrenaline rush, working in an ER hospital setting is a very rewarding job. That's it.
Nice.
Thank
You had 1 second left to spare.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. I think I'll share my screen so Emma, you can see the timer, because I didn't realize how like nerve-wracking that probably was, not knowing if you
Little
wanted-
bit, but
Don't put the timer on. I'm good without the timer.
Okay.
I'm just gonna go for it and like kind of pace myself. I've got like the little clock. And if I see the timer, I've got the ADHDs, you know.
Yeah, me too.
no
Right.
worries, we're good.
All right. So my degree is in project management. So with that Swiss Army blade of a degree, there wasn't really anything to focus on that. So I'm going to take a shot at talking about what I do with ties into my professional career. So to start. All right. So a majority of us are just one paycheck away from either falling behind on bills. And then most of us are just two away from potential eviction. I'm really not ready for this, you guys.
That's okay.
All right.
We're good.
When we talk about the state of homelessness, specifically in our community, most of us are just a couple paychecks away from falling so far behind with our bills that we are facing an eviction, especially for people without strong support systems, for families, friends. If you don't have those people around you, you are at risk with any kind of sickness, losing your job, loss of transportation. I have lived experience with being homeless a couple of times in my life, as well as my current career. I am the coordinator over at the Gladys Ray Shelter with the Fargo CAS Public Health. So the significance of this issue is we recently had a Supreme Court ruling that essentially said that it is that communities are allowed to criminalize people for sleeping outside. And we're also seeing a rise in the population of older Americans who are experiencing homelessness, especially in our community. Like you guys, I am someone who's seeking a higher education. I'm just trying to better my opportunities. And then my thesis statement. So my statement is that it is possible to end homelessness. It's completely doable. And that by using a housing first approach, we've seen the greatest success. I'm going to go over and talk about what it means to be homeless, especially in our community, the barriers that exist to the people who are experiencing homelessness and trying to exit. And then I'm also going to talk about like how we can actually end it with focusing on a housing first model. First of all, I want to talk about who, what, and where when I'm referring to for homelessness. So the people I'm talking about are, where was I going to start? So the people so the community that I'm focusing on is the Fargo-Moorhead area specifically. What it means to be homeless. To be homeless means that you are either staying in an emergency shelter, transitional housing program, that you're staying in a place that's not meant for human habitation, such as your car, a warming center, a vacant building, a place of business. And it's also, you are also considered homeless if you are doubled up with somebody, either a family or friend. If you do not have your own living arrangement, that classifies somebody as homeless. While doubling up is often like if you're not on the lease of a roommate is what it qualifies for. So we're focusing on those people, the people in the emergency shelters and transitional housing programs, and the people who are staying in places not meant for human habitation. The community I'm focusing on is our North Dakota Region 5 and the West Central Minnesota with the data that I've gathered. There's a continuum of care that works between Fargo, Moorhead, Detroit Lakes, and Alexandria. And we go out annually and we count how many people are unsheltered at the time. This count takes place in the winter. We do it in January. So keep in mind, this is Eastern North Dakota and Western Minnesota. This last year in 2023, during the point in time count, which is what the count of people is called, we had 91 unsheltered individuals in January. And this is people who are taking refuge in places that are unfit for human habitation. So they were in cars, in businesses, a handful in warming centers. But we did see a total in January of last year of 961 individuals who were in shelters at the time. And when we look at who's experiencing homelessness, according to the, oh, I'm sorry, I should cite that, all that, okay, cite that stuff, okay. So according to the Homeless Management Information System, which is a database that all shelters in the area that participate send their data to, there were 3,398 individuals in the Fargo-Moorhead area who were experiencing homeless in 2022. People between the ages of 35 to 44 were the most common age group, is what we saw. But there were also 184 individuals that were over the age of 62. And that's the age where they cut off counting. They don't show you the age groups after the age of 62. And from personal experience of meeting people in their 90s who are being sent to shelter from either the hospital or Veterans Outreach, the elderly population is significant. And we're also seeing a disproportionate amount in our, specifically the Fargo-Moorhead community of Indigenous and African-American people being affected by homelessness. 20% of our homeless population is Indigenous, while just 1% of the entire population of Fargo-Moorhead is Indigenous or Native American. And then 6.5% of the population of Fargo-Moorhead is Black or African-American, but 20% of the the total homeless population in Fargo-Moorhead is Black or African-American. We're seeing it disproportionately affect different communities. We also see it with the LGBTQ community, specifically transgender individuals facing more and more facing barriers. And then just the chronic health issues, mental health, and then the substance use disorders that exist in the community. So the barriers that people face permanent housing. Next, I want to talk about the barriers that people face when seeking permanent housing. In the Fargo-Moorhead area, I'm sure as we all know, there is a severe shortage of affordable, inhabitable housing. And I'd like to stress on the inhabitable part. A renter with a supplemental security income, so basic services, earns about $841 a month. In 2022, the rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Fargo was $705 a month. They would be paying 84% of their income towards rent alone. 57% of the people who enter homeless services have no income, while the majority of those who report any income only make between $500 and $1,000 a month. These are individuals who have managed to keep their jobs while they're experiencing homelessness. These are individuals who are seeking out labor-ready services, day labor. They are attempting to better themselves, but they make such little money every month that they are not able to afford basic rent, especially when you roll in security deposits. Of the nearly 3,400 homeless individuals that were served last year, only 966 of them are enrolled in the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, or the SNAP. So only less than a third of the people that are experiencing homelessness are also getting food assistance. The barriers are also health. Chronic illnesses keep people from working. It's especially mental health issues, not even for keeping you from working, of not being successful in your own permanent housing. Substance use disorders, obviously the legal issues that come with that impact your ability to remain housed as well. And then the education and employment, that's a huge barrier. It ends up being a huge barrier for people. We see almost half of the individuals who are experiencing homelessness have not completed their high school degree. They do not have a GED. And then obviously finding employment while homeless, the barriers you'll experience there, getting a job when you don't have a permanent address, trying to make it in for a shift when you haven't had a place to sleep, or when you know that your stuff is going to be moved. You can't bring all of your worldly possessions with you to work. So there's a lot of anxiety that keeps people from seeking employment. And then, but going in with that, seeking employment, and the people do want to better themselves. People do want to exit homelessness. I have not met a single individual who makes a choice to be in their situation. But what do we need to actually do this? So the Community Action Partnership of North Dakota, they work together with North Dakota State University and the community action agencies, and they did a survey of all the as many low-income people in North Dakota, and they do the survey every 2 years, and they asked people what they needed the most or what their biggest issues were, and the most frequent answer was affordable housing. And that includes the need, the building of more just affordable rentals, as well as removing barriers that are keeping people from purchasing affordable homes. Employment-related services were also included, assistance with accessing basic utilities, including your electricity, your gas. I've been talking for way too long. I'm so sorry. Utilities, healthcare, food resources are also reported. The methods have been successful is we've been using the housing first approach to show success. Using housing first, we've seen between 75, so the housing first model removes the transitional steps that most people experience when they're experiencing homelessness. Your typical experience is to go from the street to a transitional shelter, from an emergency shelter to a transitional shelter or housing program, to then getting your own housing. Along the way, there are so many potentials for failure in these programs that will just set these people back at first base. Housing first eliminates the other steps. So housing first focuses on taking people directly from the street and putting them into an apartment, whether it be with a master lease program where the city owns those leases and is able to rent them out, or through various companies who are engaging with that. We've seen a 92% success rate with individuals in a domestic violence program, housing first program. 92% of them after the first year were still housed, just being put in that apartment itself, not with the continued services. In conclusion, the population of people experiencing homelessness has changed in recent decades. We used to see a much younger population. Now it is turning into more elderly people. The barriers faced by people experiencing homelessness are often out of their control and require significant support to overcome. And the communities that are using a housing first approach have the most success when addressing homelessness. And then what can we actually do about it? What can you as an individual do about it? It is to tell your local representatives to support more funding towards human services, to support more affordable housing, and to support some sort of rent control so that companies are not able to price people out of their homes. All right, that's what I got, and it's too long. I'll practice some more.
So yeah, unfortunately you did go quite a bit over, so I have class in 7 minutes, but it's fine. I can be just a titch late. I'll be fine. But yeah, I would recommend revising. The due date for like the actual like document is tonight, but we have until the 19th to do that. I can also talk to Gardner tomorrow to see if like Lauren, did you feel good about your speech? About okay.
Yeah, you guys did great. So if you guys could just cut me off and I can just see if I can meet with Gardner one-on-one.
I mean, I can talk with her tomorrow morning during her office hours because I can edit videos. So I'm wondering if maybe we can just like have another Zoom, except like you do it and then maybe I can like
Right.
She'll let me,
that would be totally good too. I think if like we're okay with ours, but Emma, if you want to redo yours, we're more than happy to get back on a Zoom meeting so we can listen to it and then we can somehow either merge the videos together or submit two or however that needs to work.
However she wants to do it. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I will get my stuff together here.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Just let us know what we want to do and we'll figure it out, okay?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'll reach out to you both to double check about our roles and such, and if I can do the video. So all right. Well,
thank you.
I'm gonna leave. Okay. Bye.
Bye.